What is up, everybody? We are back. If you're interested in conspiracy theories and uncovering the truth about our history, stay tuned.
Build a stupendous war machine
Operation
in a
Paperclip.
fit of passion, nor an Auschwitz factory during a passing spasm of brutality.
What if I told you that in its quest to become the dominant superpower, the United States
Yeah.
willingly brought more than
1600.
1,600 former Nazi scientists?
And it's crazy because a little back, well, it's about to explain the whole paperclip. But, um, so Operation Paperclip, these scientists, like, I did research, so I got notes. It was the most of scientists were part of big, like close to Hitler projects. Like they were big into war crimes, and the United States just brushed it off, brushed it away. Oh, that's fine. We rather take care of our knowledge than our people.
Into the country.
What these men did was done with the utmost deliberation.
The once powerful Nazi war machinery
Which they
is
did.
slowly crumbling
They
into dust.
Imagine a
prioritized knowledge
post-World War
over
II world, where the lines between enemy
lives.
and ally blur, and the pursuit of power leads to morally questionable choices. That's exactly what unfolded in one of the most controversial operations in U.S. history, Operation Paperclip. It's a story of secret deals, ethical compromise, and the race for global dominance in science and technology.
Yeah, I just wanted to back up my claim. Yes, in many ways, the U.S. prioritized knowledge and technological, I can't say that word, advancement over ethical concerns, which is moral concerns. That's what ethical means. Concerns during Operation Paperclip. The program brought over 1,600 German scientists, which he said, engineers and technicians to the U.S., many of whom had been involved in Nazi Germany's advanced research and military invasions.
You who have not seen it do not know what hell looks like from the top. That's what Germany looks like.
As the Third Reich collapsed, the Allies were not only hunting down Nazi war criminals, they were also scrambling to capture Germany's most brilliant minds. Why? Because these scientists had pioneered advancements in everything from
Bro, I ain't got no way for kids. These people didn't have no way for kids either. I mean, Hitler was mopping them.
rocket technology.
How's your wife and kids, bro? I've been planning on reaching out, but mad busy. Yeah, and despite the Nazi affirmations involved in war crimes, these individuals were recruited to leverage their expertise for America's Cold War efforts and prevented knowledge from falling to the Soviet hands.
To chemical weapons, knowledge that
Which
could be used to
these
tip the
engineers
balance of
were
power
made
in a post-war
the
world.
V2 rocket, which
The
killed
United
people
States and
during
Soviet Union
World War
were
II.
locked in a
So these
shadowy
people-
competition, each trying to gain control of
He
these
said-
intellectual resources.
Dang, bro.
These men, some of whom had committed horrific crimes,
Good stuff, though.
were given new
I'll call
lives,
you after this,
new
and we could definitely
jobs,
talk about it.
and even new identities. Welcome
can
to the
definitely-
dark.
I'll call you, bro.
ethically fraught
I'll call you after
world
this.
of Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, proper. Bad, yo. My bad.
Don't say that.
Yeah. And the impact on U.S. programs, rocketry and space exploration. These scientists significantly contributed to NASA and the development of U.S. space programs. For instance, Werner von Braun played a pivotal role in developing the Saturn V rocket, which I talked about earlier. I called it the V2 rocket, which I think it's what it was called, but I'm not sure. The Saturn V rocket, well, that's what it was called, that enabled the Apollo moon landing. Oh, no, so what's the V2 rocket? V2 rocket, World War II. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, German ballistic missile developed during World War II. Yeah, so I was right.
He's hypocritical. Say rather that he's apolitical.
That's crazy.
Once the rockets are up, who cares where they come down? That's not my department, says Werner von Braun.
Yo, Warner von Braun said,
Almost exactly 16 months after the A-bomb.
bro, Kurt de Bus was a Nazi. We can bet, brother. You get a hold of me because I don't know when you're busy. I'm chilling today, so whenever you are free, just get a hold of me. I think his name was Kurt de Bus. They have a whole award after him. He's a Nazi too. There was a fencing, academic fencing back in World War II, Nazi Germany, and they were all just fencing. The swords weren't pointy; they're actual swords. Let me see if I can find anything. I'll play this while I try to look for that.
The U.S. Army is about to make its first major test of a ballistic rocket.
Initially known as Operation Overcast, was named for the paper clips that were attached to the files of scientists that the U.S. Did.
President at the White House, as American citizens, permit us to express our profound concern over reports that Nazi scientists have not only been brought to this country, but by the United States Army for research projects, but that their families were allowed to follow them, and they were permitted to remain here permanently. We hold these individuals to be potentially dangerous carriers.
Deemed most valuable. One of the most famous figures to emerge from this operation was Werner von Braun, the mastermind behind the Nazi V-2 rockets that had terrorized Allied cities.
Yeah.
An altitude of 117 miles will be achieved, a world's record. This rocket is not American, however. It is German.
These deadly rockets were designed in part by prisoners forced to work in inhuman conditions at the Mittelwerk factory. Von Braun wasn't just a passive bystander in this atrocity.
Yeah. Look at some of this. Like, this is academic fencing. This is what they were doing in Nazi, and this is who this was. Kurt H. de Bus. There's a photo of him going around with right here. Right here. Kurt H. de Bus, a former Nazi scientist turned into NASA director, sitting between President of the United States John F. Kennedy and Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson during a brief at Blockhouse 34 Cape Canaveral. That's not missile test. And there's the fencing thing. Right there. Now, academic fencing was very popular in that time.
He personally selected slave laborers from the Buchenwald concentration camp. Yet, despite his Nazi past, von Braun became a central figure in the U.S. space program, eventually helping to develop the Saturn V rocket that took Americans to the moon.
To help show you what is being done to solve these problems, we have called upon one of the foremost exponents of space travel, Dr. Werner von Braun,
Dang, I've been
who is
yapping.
at present the chief of the Guided Missile Division of the Army's Rocket Center at Redstone Arsenal.
But von Braun was only the tip of the iceberg. Let's talk about some of the other key players in Operation Paperclip and the morally dubious roles they played. Working with von Braun was Arthur Rudolph, who served as a production manager at the Mittelwerk facility. Under his oversight, workers endured brutal conditions, starvation, and inhumane treatment, leading to the death.
Bro. And the U.S. knew about this. Von Braun studied at Technical University of Berlin and later earned a PhD in physics from the University of Berlin. Yeah.
Death of thousands.
Some people believe that the reports of what happened there are exact.
Legacy. Von Braun passed away on June 16, 1977, but his
Yet despite this dark
contributions to
Rudolph's
space exploration
expertise in
continue to be
rocketry made him an
celebrated.
asset to the
I mean, yeah, I believe that people could change, but we celebrating a Nazi that killed millions.
United States during the Cold War. Brought to America
Like,
under Operation Paperclip, he
I don't
became
know.
a key figure in NASA's space program, playing a significant role in developing the Saturn V
Bro,
rocket
I don't know.
that enabled the Apollo moon landing.
Like, I get it. Von Braun did a lot for science and NASA. But the dude also helped kill people. So, and that goes right back to Kurt DeBus. There's awards for him, and he was a Nazi. So, like,
For years,
I don't
he
know.
was celebrated as a hero of American science, even receiving prestigious accolades for his work.
Now I'd like to show you a department of our school, which is a logical outgrowth of what you've been seeing.
However, when his involvement in Nazi war crimes resurfaced in the 1980s, Rudolph was forced to give up his U.S. citizenship and return to Germany, largely escaping formal justice. But let's not forget another pivotal player.
For this story, you ought to talk to Dr. Hubert.
Von Braun was aware of the use of concentration camp prisoners for labor in the production of the V-2 rockets. There are accounts suggesting he was complicit, I don't even know how to say that word, in the system, including a letter from 1944 in which he advised the U.S. the use of SS prisoners to replace civilian workers. So
Strughold had been involved in experiments at the Dachau concentration camp, where prisoners were subjected to cruel and lethal experiments on how the human body responds to extreme conditions. Despite the evidence of his wartime atrocities, Strughold's name was eventually cleared.
I feel like they teach us this way too young in school. Like, when did they teach us about the Holocaust in school? Let me play this, because
Once again, in the
y'all don't want to
interest
just
of
sit here and watch
national
me. Yeah.
security, in the United States, Strughold became a key figure in NASA's medical program, developing life support systems and astronaut training protocols.
Dr. Strughold, what are the prospects for space travel?
Will not only make routine flight under space conditions in the vicinity.
Yeah. The law requires that every school district incorporate the teaching of the Holocaust and other genocides into a social studies curriculum and is taught at least once, so one time, in the grades 5 through 8, and at least once in the grades of 9 through 12. So we're only hearing about it twice in school. It was a mass genocide, and we only hear about it twice. I don't know.
Of the earth, but also that he will
Maybe I'm going on about nothing. Or maybe
Now let's shift to some Nazi doctors.
I
some
care
of
a
whom
little too
were
much.
even
I
tried
don't know.
at Nuremberg. Dr. Kurt Blom, for example, had been the Deputy Surgeon General of Nazi Germany, overseeing
Is that too
biological
much?
warfare research
Did I
that
change that
included
camera too
testing
much?
on prisoners.
Professor Kurt Blomer, the Deputy Health Minister and
No.
Plenipotentiary for Cancer Research, favored testing the extract in mice, but Russia insisted on using human test subjects. Himmler took Russia aside, and a human cancer testing station was established at Dachau concentration camp.
When captured, Blom was charged with war crimes at the Nuremberg trials, but shockingly he was acquitted, thanks in large part to U.S. intervention.
Taking their places in the famous Nuremberg courtroom, judges of the Allied Military Tribunal begin the trial of minor war criminals.
Taxes was waiting.
Yeah.
And wondering.
Well, it took it away.
Ambrose. And then there was Otto Ambrose,
Here's
a
that.
chemist who had helped develop nerve agents like sarin and tabun for the Nazis. Ambrose had overseen chemical plants that used slave labor from Auschwitz, where countless workers perished.
In conquered
Auschwitz.
Poland,
Auschwitz.
Ambrose was
I
shown a
was saying it
town
wrong.
where one of Himmler's largest concentration camps had just been built.
That place is a.
The town was Oswiecim, known to
you
the
could go
Germans
to
as
that
Auschwitz.
place.
Ambrose found the site otherwise suitable and was particularly interested in the possibility of using the concentration camp inmates to erect the plants, all of which was reported to the other defendants. They agreed.
I don't want to say something that isn't factually
He was convicted in
correct.
Nuremberg, but instead of serving his full sentence, he was quietly brought to the United States to work on chemical weapons
The
development.
Auschwitz is
Ambrose is so essential to U.S. military interests
tourist place.
that he was even
It's a
granted a
museum.
pardon, allowing him to continue his work with impunity. These men helped shape America's post-war scientific and military achievements, but their pasts were anything but clean.
Ambrose was part of the chemical weapons scientists
Otto Ambrose.
that were of great interest to the United States.
So why did the U.S. welcome them with open arms? The answer lies in the geopolitical reality of the time. The Cold War had begun, and with the Soviet Union snapping up German scientists in its own operation, the U.S. couldn't afford to fall behind. National security was the justification, and for many, the ends seemed to justify the means. But this operation wasn't just a military endeavor. It was also a covert CIA initiative. The Central Intelligence Agency, newly formed in 1947, was instrumental in facilitating the transfer of these Nazi scientists into the U.S., often erasing or downplaying their Nazi affiliations in the process. Let's explore some of the key figures in the CIA who played significant roles in Operation Paperclip. One of the most notable is Allen Dulles, the first civilian director of Central Intelligence. Dulles was a master of espionage and covert operations, and during his tenure, he prioritized harnessing scientific talent no matter the moral cost.
Mr. Dulles, I know you've heard this many times, that there are people who say that we, with regard to the CIA, are waging a secret war with an invisible government.
We are obviously engaged in many facets of what is generally called the Cold War.
Dulles had been deeply involved in intelligence gathering during World War II as a senior officer in the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the CIA's precursor.
Allen Dulles was the director of the Central Intelligence from 1953 to 1961.
After the war, he became an architect of Operation Paperclip, pushing hard for the recruitment of German scientists. Dulles believed that if the U.S. didn't act quickly, the Soviets would recruit these same scientists, which could have catastrophic consequences in the Cold War.
The KGB is one of the most sinister organizations that ever was organized.
Are they any good? Are the Russians good at this?
Oh, yes. Oh, my, yes. You take some of their operations, they're classic.
Then there's John J. McCloy, another key figure in the operation.
The KGB committed, I don't even know how to say that. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Was the main security agency of the Soviet Union from 1954 until its dissolution in 1991. It was served both as an intelligence agency and a secret police force responsible for the wide range of activities, including foreign intelligence, counterintelligence,
and was later appointed to
internal
the
security,
U.S. High
and
Commissioner
border
for
protection.
Germany, effectively overseeing the occupation of Germany after the war.
John McCloy's had a long life, 90 years, and most of it marked by unparalleled service to his country and humanity.
McCloy was instrumental in negotiating the terms that allowed many of these scientists, including war criminals, to escape prosecution and work for the U.S. government. And let's not forget about James Jesus Angleton, the infamous head of counterintelligence at the CIA. Angleton, known for his paranoia and obsession with Soviet espionage, viewed the recruitment of Nazi scientists as a necessary evil.
There are those, of course, who would say that the CIA's wings were simply clipped, that they had been going too far, too fast, too freely.
Oh, there are those who will say anything.
Angleton helped run counterintelligence programs that monitored the activities of former Nazi scientists once they were brought into the United States, ensuring that they were loyal to their new homeland.
There is always a question whether a democratic country is capable of having
so he had the doubt of these people.
An intelligence service of any great merit.
One figure who bridges the gap between science, intelligence, and Nazi war crimes is Reinhard Gehlen. Galen was a
I don't
Nazi
really care
intelligence
much on this.
officer who had run the Wehrmacht's intelligence service on the Eastern Front. After the war, Galen offered his vast intelligence network to the Americans, promising valuable insight into Soviet military operations.
Thereafter, until his break with Hitler in April 1945, Galen reported regularly on all matters to do with Russia's war effort, gathering his information from agents inside the Soviet Union, some inside the Kremlin itself.
Allen Dulles and the CIA embraced him, establishing the Galen Organization, a secret West German intelligence service that operated under U.S. guidance. The Galen Organization became a key asset in the early Cold War, though it was staffed by many former Nazis. Operation Paperclip wasn't just about advancing science and technology. It was about creating a powerful network of individuals who could outthink, outmaneuver, and outbuild the Soviets. The ethical lines were blurred and, in many cases, completely crossed. These scientists, with their dark pasts, weren't simply forgotten. They were actively protected and promoted by the U.S. government. One of the most damning organization, a secret West German intelligence service network of individuals who could outthink, outmaneuver, and outbuild the Soviets. The ethical lines were blurred and, in many cases, completely crossed. These scientists, with their dark pasts, weren't simply forgotten. They were actively protected and promoted.
I like that. I like the fact that they said that, because their pasts weren't forgotten. The CIA and the government hid it. They hid it. They hid their families. They hid their backstory. They hid their lives because they knew what they were doing was wrong, and they knew that it would pour ethical. I don't even know, but it wasn't ethically correct. It wasn't ethically right. And I think they knew that. That's why they were trying to hide their past.
By the U.S. government. One of the most damning cases of moral compromise involves the infamous MK-Ultra program.
We will get into MK-Ultra indefinitely. I don't want to talk too much on it right now, but...
Which was initiated by the CIA in the 50s.
Yep.
Nazi scientists brought over under Operation Paperclip played a key role in the early stages of this mind control program, which involved unethical experiments on unwitting subjects.
Including the use of
including the use of hallucinogenic drugs and psychological torture. Sidney Gottlieb, the CIA officer who ran MK-Ultra, reportedly worked with some...
What? Oh.
Some of these former Nazi scientists to develop methods of controlling the human mind.
Let's go back.
Gottlieb, the CIA officer who ran MK-Ultra, reportedly worked with some of these former Nazi scientists to develop methods of controlling the human mind.
Yeah.
Methods that were disturbingly similar to techniques used in Nazi concentration camps. By the mid...
Well, Sidney Gottlieb was an American chemist and a spy master who headed to the CIA's. Who headed this,
20th century, many of the scientists recruited under Operation Paperclip have become household names. Werner von Braun was featured on Walt Disney's TV specials talking about space exploration and the future of mankind's journey to the stars.
Now here's a model, my design for a four-stage orbital rocket ship. Compared to the unmanned instrument rocket, it is quite large.
Von Braun had gone from a man developing weapons of mass Disney's TV specials from household names.
Paperclip had become household names, and Von Braun was featured
Von Braun was featured on Walt Disney's TV.
Walter Von Braun was on. Dang.
Specials talking about space exploration.
Design for it is quite large.
That's crazy.
Von Braun had gone from a man developing weapons of mass destruction for the Nazis to an American icon, symbolizing the triumph of science and innovation. But what the public didn't see were the compromises that had been made to get there. And these compromises didn't go unnoticed by everyone.
Ow, my foot. That's Einstein.
Prominent figures like Albert Einstein and Eleanor Roosevelt compromises that had been made to get there. And these compromises didn't go unnoticed by everyone. Prominent figures like Albert Einstein and Eleanor Roosevelt were vocal critics of Operation Paperclip. Einstein, who had fled Nazi Germany.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Einstein was in Germany before, a couple years before. Yeah.
Wrote a letter to President Truman condemning the decision to allow these men into the country.
We are concerned here with an act of humanity.
He believed that the United States was sacrificing its moral integrity for the sake of power, and he was right to question whether these...
Well, they were. He did have a right to question them because they were. We are concerned here with an act of humanity.
Act of humanity.
He believed that the United States was sacrificing its moral integrity.
It was. It was definitely. How you doing? Oh, Eddie VR. How you doing? Einstein was definitely correct. They were sacrificing their moral integrity because
integrity for the sake of power.
They let Nazis over in the U.S. and hid their background.
Justify the atrocities they had committed. But for the U.S. government, it wasn't about morality. It was about survival.
ED. Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm very good. I am very well.
Was a battle for global supremacy, and the
ED.
Soviet Union was seen as an existential threat. The Americans couldn't.
Operation Paperclip. How the U.S. let 1,600 Nazis, technicians, scientists, into the U.S. and hid their background so they could advance in knowledge. The U.S. after World War II let Nazis over here, and they let for real
afford to let the Soviets get their hands on these scientific minds.
And they were just talking about MK Ultra too, which I'm gonna cover in another live stream.
National security became the ultimate justification, even if it meant sweeping the horrors of the past.
The U.S. is something.
Operation Paperclip represents one of the most complex moral dilemmas in American history. The questions posed by Operation Paperclip are not just relics of the past, they remain deeply relevant today. In a world still grappling with the ethics of technological progress and global power dynamics, we're often reminded that the pursuit of dominance, whether through scientific innovation, military strength, or intelligence.
You're from England. What is England like? Oh, let me play this.
Gathering can come at an immense moral cost. Take, for example,
England is very...
the development of nuclear
weapons.
I
just looked up some images of England. It's very pretty here.
The Manhattan Project, led by figures like J. Robert Oppenheimer and Enrico Fermi, was instrumental in creating the atomic bomb,
40 degrees.
A device that forever changed the nature of warfare. But the lessons learned through Operation Paperclip echo through these projects as well.
Repeating once again our top story, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev has been removed from power, and there are tanks now in the streets
I think the cold
of
is
Moscow.
nice.
Vice President Gennady Yanayev says he has taken over as
the cold
acting
is definitely
president.
nice.
Even after the Cold War ended, the legacy of Operation Paperclip continued to influence U.S. policy.
Okay.
How far are we willing to push the boundaries of science if it means we gain the upper hand, even if it leaves a trail of destruction in its wake? And what about modern warfare?
We're gonna watch some MK Ultra after
technologies such
this.
as drones, artificial intelligence, and cyber weapons have emerged as the new frontiers of battle. These innovations, much like the rocket technology developed by von Braun.
Yeah, I think that's so stupid. I really did not know von Braun was on a TV series at Walt Disney. I heard of it before. It's mind control. Yes. I actually just got into this conspiracy stuff. I just started a new YouTube channel called what is it? And it's basically just covering
are impressive
conspiracies,
on a
the
technical
government,
level, but
stuff
come
like
with their own
that.
ethical dilemmas. How
I
do
think
we
you'll like it.
ensure
If
that
you like this, you'll
technological
definitely like that new
progress
YouTube
does
channel.
not come at the expense of humanity? Are we destined to repeat the same mistakes, making compromises in the name of progress? Or can we find a way to advance technology without losing sight of our moral obligations? What do you think? Was Operation Paperclip a necessary evil? Or does it reveal something more troubling about the choices we make in the pursuit of
It's
power?
not just
If this
it's called
exploration
Ping's Vision.
of Operation Paperclip
At Ping's Vision. But it's not just